Hey everyone, I'm doing the Cinch Dress SAL along today. I have my pieces cut out. I have my 2 dress pieces, my 2 casing pieces, 2 elastics, I have my neckband, and then I'm using the same fabric for my neckband for the little arm detailing instead of using like a lace or something, because I really like the look of ribbing on sleeves and like short hemlines right now. So that's kind of the look I'm going for. So I'm just gonna move this stuff out of the way. I'm gonna start by sewing my 2 shoulder seams together. So I'll lay one of my dress pieces right side up and then the other one right side down. Match up my seams, my shoulder seams here. And then you're just going to either serge or zigzag them. If you're doing binding for the neck, it might help you to only do one shoulder seam first and then go and do the whole length of the neckband in the binding and then do the other shoulder seam. You could also do your binding in the round by just using the neckband measurement. I'm just going to do a folded neckband because that's the style and look that I like best. So I'm going to go ahead and do my shoulder seam. Oh, sorry. Go right over into my other shoulder seam. You can pin or clip these if it makes it easier for you to keep everything straight. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do is take my neckband. I have to decide which one that is because I mixed up all my bindings. It's a slightly thicker one. Okay, and then I'm gonna put it right sides together. Then you can either serge or zigzag it together at this point, or once you've folded it in half lengthwise, which means you take the length of it and fold it in half. Then you can fold it in half widthwise too, along the raw edge here, and just serge it like that. And then when you flip it out, it'll all just be one seam. I like that because it reduces the bulk. Some people don't like it because you can see like a little bit of a lip when you unfold it. I'll show you what I mean, but it doesn't bother me, so I just still do it this way. Sorry, you can hear my toddler playing. Okay, so I did that. I folded it lengthwise and then widthwise, and then when you open it up, it's just already folded over and ready to go. So some people don't like how that side right there is just a little bit like lifted, but that really doesn't bother me at all, and it's in the back, so I feel like it doesn't really make any difference. You know, but whatever, to each their own. So now I'm going to unfold my dress. And get the back. And pin it halfway in the back. And then pull it forward so that you can see where the halfway point is in the front. Set that right there. And then pin it to that point. You can be more precise with this if you want, but with ribbing it's really forgiving, so you can kind of be a little bit off and it'll still be fine. So now I'm just going to serge it on. If you don't have a serger, use a zigzag or stretch stitch. Just line everything up there. just stretch the neckband only as you're sewing around. You don't want to stretch the bodice piece at all. Once I'm back to the beginning, I just serge off. I leave a long tail, grab an embroidery needle, feed the tail into the eye, and then you'll just bury it between the layers so that you don't see the tail. It should just kind of slide right along in there. Pull it through, give it a little stretch, and then cut off the extra. Okay, so now we have our neckband done. So cute. I love it. I'm obsessed with ribbing right now. I think it just like makes every garment look better. I used to always just use whatever fabric I was using as my binding, but ribbing just gives it such a professional look, and it doesn't like bunch it up at all or give you like any of like the waves or anything. I love it so much. Okay, anyhow, that's my spiel on that. Now we are going to work on the casing. So there's two ways to do the elastic for this. On the pattern pieces itself, there'll be a line that's kind of like a guide for where you'll put the elastic. You can either take the elastic and just sew it directly onto the fabric, or you can make a casing and feed the elastic through. And so I've kind of been struggling on what I want to do, because I think that I like the look of the zigzagged elastic on better, but I don't like the idea of elastic just bunched right onto her stomach. I don't know if that'll be uncomfortable. So I think what I'm going to do is sew the casing on and feed the elastic through and then zigzag on top and see if that works. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so I just gotta switch out my double needle for a single real quick. Stitch length a little just because I like that look better. And I probably want to use coordinating thread, I guess. Maybe like this navy would look nice. Yeah. Sorry guys, I'm all over the place when I sew. This is like I talk to myself. I don't know. I talk to myself, I work through it, and yeah, usually it works for me. So when you guys watch these videos, you kind of get a piece of that. There we go. Alright, so yeah, I have it on a straight stitch. I lengthen my stitch length 2 clicks to 3.5, and then I set it to 4 for my tension. I hope that's gonna be fine. This is kind of like a DBP, and I never ever use DBP. I don't like it. It's really difficult to sew with, and I also feel like it doesn't breathe well. So I don't like using it for my kids, but this is from Joann's, and I find it a little bit different. I find it easier to sew with and not as hot as DBPs that I've found online. So, and this is for fall, so I think it'll be okay if it's a little warm, hopefully. Yeah, like look how pretty that neckband is. You would never get that with using just regular fabric. The ribbing just is so nice. Okay, so anyhow, back to business. I have my pattern piece here. I'm just gonna kind of line it up with where the shoulder seam is to get an approximation of where I want this line. I'm making 2T, so I'm gonna look for my 2T line here, and I'm just gonna throw a clip on it. There we go, and then I'll put a pin in the middle, and then I'm gonna flip it and kind of do the same over here. So I'm matching up like where my little armpit, let's see, where my little armpit seam is, which is so like minor. because of the style of this dress, you really have to look for it. You can cut yourself a notch. There are notch marks, so you don't lose where it is. But I didn't do that, so I'm just eyeballing it like I do with everything. That looks good. Yep, looks straight. Now I'm just gonna do the same on the front. And now I'm just going to line this up. So this is my casing. I'm just gonna center it with where those markings were. And I'm doing it wrong sides together, but it literally does not matter because this is the inside of your garment. You won't see it at all. So yeah, it doesn't really make a difference, but you know, just whatever. If it turns inside out, it'll look pretty. Okay, I think that looks pretty straight. Let me see. Okay, yeah, looks good. So now I'm just going to go ahead and straight stitch right here. Typically you don't ever do a straight stitch on knit fabric, but this is gonna cinch up, so it's fine. That's kind of why I lengthened my stitch length a bit too. And you know what? Let me see if I have a navy bobbin over here. I do, okay. So I'm actually gonna switch out my bobbin for navy as well. And that way I can sew it upside down, so like I'm looking at the inside. So I'm looking at the inside so I can follow along the line straight and make sure I like capture it all. And I'm not sewing it blindly. So, here we go, let's hope this works. Hate sewing with DPP. Also, the directions probably call for you to like fold over these edges underneath so that there's no raw edges, but again, like I said, it's going to be on the inside, so it doesn't really bother me. This is like a super soft fabric, so even if the edges roll, I don't think it's going to bother her at all. Now I'm going to take my safety pin and feed my elastic through. So cute. And now I'm going to do my arms. This is where, like, if you were doing lace, you would want it right here. Like I said, I'm just doing the binding that I used for the neck. And I can tell where my armpit is over on this side. So whether you're doing lace or binding, fabric, or just hemming, whatever, you're just gonna find where the armpit seam is and start there. And then go across to the other one. It's so slight, so if you need to like cut a notch or use your pattern piece as a like template to mark off where it goes, you know, definitely do that. And you're just gonna wanna put it right sides together. If you're doing lace or binding, right sides together, and then you'll just serge along the raw edge. All along here. Yeah. And then if you're doing the lace, after you serge along the raw edge, you'll just fold it over and top stitch it down so that it stays in place. Okay, our next step is going to be putting our dress right sides together. Line up either where you just laced, binded, band, hemmed, whatever you did here. Line it up. Now your two little cinch parts should line up too. Mine do perfect. And then all the way down to the hemline. Oh man, my stuff never works out that perfectly, so that's exciting. Okay, and then the same on the opposite side. Oh, I'm in shock that this lined up. I mean, like, I know I used the pattern piece to kind of like eyeball it, but it was still eyeballing, and I didn't really make sure it was straight or anything. I just went with it. So I'm pretty psyched right now. I don't know if you can tell by my monotone voice, but you know, I am. So now you'll start where you just did your lace or binding or hemming. I'm just gonna push it all the way up under so that it doesn't shift at all when I start. Then this is kind of like a little, like, it's pretty much straight because there wasn't a huge difference where the seam, like where the arms went into the bodice. Just want to make sure I capture all the edges. Put pins where your elastic is, make sure you pull them out, but make sure that your elastic doesn't get sucked back into the piece when you take your pin out. So just kind of pull it to give it like a straight edge right there so it's not cinched anymore. That'll help the elastic stay right where it should be. There we go. Let it hang out a little bit if you need to make sure that you really capture it. You can even like top stitch it like with a little stay stitch over on your machine before you do this part. That'd be really helpful to make sure everything stays where it's supposed to be and the elastic doesn't fall back through. Okay, so my last video cut off. I don't know if like my phone just automatically cut it off or ran out of storage or what happened, but I got basically to where I was serging down to the hem. So now I'm just going to, I did the same thing on both sides. Fed the thread back through up here like I typically do. And now I'm just gonna turn it right side out. Kind of give it a little stretch where the cinch is to get the gathers really even. Cut off this thread that my serger missed trimming. Okay. It's so cute. Oh my god, I'm so in love already. So now I'm just gonna go through and hem it. I'm gonna just do a zigzag hem because I don't feel like changing my needle out. So I put my stitch length on, or my stitch number on 4, stitch length 1.8, and stitch width on 4.5, which is just 2 clicks up for both of them. And then you can just fold it up 3/4 of an inch. You can go around and do the whole thing and pin it. I'm just gonna go for it and kind of adjust as I go. Kind of just keep my finger right here. I can feel like that the fabric is folded up to right there, so that's like my guide for where I'm lining it up for my needle, and to make sure that my hem is staying about 3/4. Ideally you want to use a double needle for this, but this works too. So you can see like I went right along the edge. That's what you really want. You want to get the edge fully covered, or fully like captured, so that none of it spills out. But you don't want to be too far from where the edge is, so that you get like a lip of raw fabric. That will like also cause it to turn to like flip under when the garment's being worn. But if you get it right on the edge, you kind of just hold it right where it needs to be. That's why I use my finger to like guide where I'm going. But anyhow, here we go. This is so cute. I'm so excited to see it on her. This is one of the first times I've ever made this pattern, so I've never made it for Violet, and she's sleeping right now, so I can't try it on her right away, but I'm super stoked for her to wake up and see what it looks like on her. Thanks for watching, guys.